les collines où le temps serpente, sous le ciel bleu la brise nous tente. Millau se dévoile, perle du midi, où l'histoire et la nature se lient. Oh Millau, dans tes bras on se perd, oh majestueux, cœur de lumière au creux de tes vallées. Le monde s'éveille, Millau, douce mélodie des merveilles.
Okay, so let's try making another video in very short amount of time. I don't think this will be possible, but in that case it will just form as the basis for a future video. But I have decided to start building towards the actual town of Millau. So we're going to try to fill this area here with it's a little bit small area, but let's have it as the start anyway. And it's going to be our first actual city blocks. So I'm excited to get started on this. Hello and welcome. I never introduced this episode because I actually recorded this so long ago, like 4 weeks ago, before I left for my summer internship. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Basically, what's happening today is that I put out a community post before I left as well and asked you guys like what you thought I should build next in Millau, and you voted for a we start the denser inner downtown or whatever. Inner downtown, that sounds, I don't know if it's the inner downtown, but like the more dense part. We start working towards the city center anyway, and yeah, I just did it. I just went ahead and did it. I had some pictures of like testing out ideas beforehand, so I was looking at them while doing it, and it turned out really good anyway. Yeah, I am also trying a new thing for once. I've written down like all the things I want to potentially talk about during this episode in a Google Docs format. Otherwise, I usually use like a pen and pencil on like a notebook, analog physical notebook, but that always gets super crowded and I'm super afraid to like miss out on like the most important stuff. So I've also found like when I'm making like longer episodes, I really need to have some idea of what to talk about beforehand. I don't write scripts that often anyway. That just takes too much time and is too much effort. But anyway, what we're talking about, what I want to talk about today is I want to talk about, as I'm doing these roads, the summer internship I did. I've been gone 4 weeks or so, a little bit more, from home and from my PC, so that's why I haven't been that active, I guess. As I said, I did record this build before I left, but I didn't record the editing, or like I didn't record the editing. I didn't edit. I didn't have the time. I did it like just the last night before leaving. So, but anyway, this summer internship has been like super exciting and super interesting. It's basically at the government agency that is in charge of mapping and cadastral stuff, like border lines and of properties and such in Sweden. It's a government agency called Lantmäteriet. Which fits me very well. I like maps. I'm a very map-centered person, and it was huge fun, and also very rewarding in terms of I learned so much. This is something I could definitely see myself doing as a full-time profession eventually, once I finish university for the second time. But anyway, that's what I've been doing. Yeah, it's a very old agency. It has. It's relatively unique to Sweden. It has a lot of history. I think it was founded in the 1600s. If I remember, I'll try to show off some of the public available data that this agency shows off. There's a map of the whole of Sweden with all that basically shows pretty accurately all the property lines and how complicated that stuff can be, like throughout like hundreds of years of history. So. And it's really fun too. I wonder if your countries have like similar, if you're not in Sweden, that is, if you're in other countries, like if you have any similar kind of service where you can see like border lines so clearly, borders between like individual properties, that is, and real estate. So Anyway, enough about that. I was hoping when I got back that I would have infinite amount of free time to continue doing Millau, but unfortunately there are some personal reasons I'll have to step back a little bit. I step back on my expectations, that is. I won't have infinite amount of time as I was hoping for, but I'll have a lot of time. I'll have a lot more time than I had before anyway. I really don't want to go back to how it was this spring, where I literally had no extra time for doing the stuff I like videos and such. So hopefully even through autumn, like the fall, when I go back to school again, I'll have more time I'll try to allocate more time for this, because this is the stuff I like to do. This is fun. I need to complete this project. I really want to do that. So anyway, it's probably about time I go back to talking about the build that we're doing. Like you can see, I have created a sort of road layout. A road layout that's, right now it's a mix of pedestrian roads and I guess driving roads you can drive on with cars and park on. This stuff changes back and forth a little bit, but I really recommend like doing a mix of them. Like especially if you have the Plazas and Promenades DLC, the pomegranate, what's it called? Plazas and Pomegranates, as Toady says. I think, or it's potatoes and pomegranate. I don't know. That DLC anyway is really nice. I really like those roads and mixing them into the like with other roads, with driving enabled roads. Just creates variety and also a bit of realism. Like try to think of like which roads would be like important for access with vehicles driving through, and which roads you can sort of air quotes sacrifice for pedestrian only and bike only access. Like for example, like it could be a busy commercial street that has been converted to a pedestrian only road. That would work, I think. Yeah. So I don't know how that's gonna happen eventually, if I'm gonna decide doing this, but I might have titled this video like terracotta or something like that, which is my way of saying like talking about the red roofs. These are the first proper this is the first proper red roof district in Millau. Like red tiles and I think terracotta always, or maybe there's other kinds of red tiles, but it's a very ubiquitous feature of Southern Europe. Honestly, maybe Europe in general. I don't know. Like you have these all across the world, like Latin America, of course, as well, and other places. But for me, it's very Mediterranean in a way also, and that brings me to the point that these buildings are not very Mediterranean looking. Like this building style here does not fit. I am very much aware these buildings do not fit the south of France kind of theme that I think some of you might be expecting because of the location is basically in the south of France and such. We would also want to have much smaller, if we were building like a Millau 1-to-1 build, we would want to have much lower density, much smaller buildings in general. Like this, it's just too big. But this sort of fits into my idea of this being more like a pan-European build. Like we're not limiting ourselves to just France. We'll use French place names and such, but we're not limiting the build to just have French influences. There's like the general asset styles are definitely much more Central European or German, I've been told, and I agree. It would be much easier to make, for example, as a me Polizeifunk, like a Berlin build with vanilla assets. But I still think like it works. Like the mixing of styles can be made done in a good way. So, but just so you know, it's not. I know that this is not how South France looks like. There is no good way to, I mean, except using custom assets of a workshop, of course, but there's no good way with vanilla assets to make that style. I shouldn't have said that. Somebody's gonna prove me wrong probably, but This is my preferred way of doing it anyway. What should I say? Yeah, I have some specific ideas for inspiration, like, that are not French anyway. Like, I really have some Swiss and Austrian ideas, like some build ideas from the Alps, funiculars and cable cars and such, and there's just parts from other parts of France anyway. Like, I want to make a university style build that's inspired by Grenoble in the French Alps as well. And as I was talking about before, like, maybe... Oh, I wasn't talking about before, but I will talk about it because it's written in my notes as to talk about. I might take some Swedish inspiration for some parts even, so... We'll see. I really like the idea of mixing this up. And it's a good way to sort of deal with the limitations we have in the vanilla assets anyway, so... but still, as I said... Names will be French as long as this project goes on. The names will imply that this is a French build. We'll just have to stick the course with that one. So if you have any suggestions for any place names, like including this one here, this build here, this district, please write them down write them in the comments. I'd love to hear them or read them. I'm not very good at French. I'm doing like the basic Duolingo thing, but I'm still not very good. I'm actually very bad, in fact. So any help is very much appreciated. I know that some of the names I've made up on the spot, like using translators and stuff like that, have been very bad. So if you have ideas to fix those, please help as well. Please help. Send help. Send French help. Anyway, yeah. Speaking about this district style I'm doing here, I'm just placing down all the assets. I'm trying to match the colors of the roofs. So one block has... So basically it looks like more buildings are connected than the small, like 4x4 largest block size. I think that's a great way to make these districts look better. And that's why I'm trying to match the roof colors, so that the red roof colors go together and create like larger complexes. In a way, like complexes of buildings. It creates the illusion of buildings not having a square footprint anyway. I think it does that pretty well. And this kind of district, I think there's going to be quite a few of them. This is not the only district of this style. And I also realized they take quite a long time to make. Not as much as they could have, but it quickly becomes repetitive. Like you can tell I've hardly talked anything about the build in this video yet. Like it becomes pretty repetitive. I don't think I can talk over much more of these builds. I'm thinking like what the options are for doing these types of builds, I guess. Like and making them into videos specifically. Like one option could be to stream it, like have a mastodont 12-hour stream or something where we just go through and 12 hours. Granted, I get that much free time in a continuous space, I guess. But like longer streams where we just build and expand this stuff. I could do that either on YouTube or Twitch. I know that on YouTube, you guys are probably gonna appreciate more of the YouTube stream, but it's an option anyway. I could also do it off. How do you say it? Off recording, like outside of recording, and then just what was my point with that? Yeah, off recording and do a recap instead, like just talk about the stuff I see or like the stuff you have built. That's another option. Let me know what you think anyway, like if you have any ideas, any opinions. I'm definitely gonna have to make a dedicated video, at least one dedicated video of the downtown, or like the old town, let's say, like the adjacent district to this one, where we'll have we'll probably use the cathedral. Maybe we'll try to make like custom cathedrals and stuff like that later on, but it's a future project. But like the old town, like maybe even a walled city, like make some aqueducts, maybe have some really old archaeological stuff, like maybe there's an old Roman amphitheater or something, who knows. So many ideas. so that build will definitely be recorded. So don't worry that I'm saying I won't show that. That might be even several videos like with smaller details, like just adding on to the existing build we have. So as I said, I had some ideas for Swedish inspiration also maybe. A few months ago I visited the island of Gotland with my brother, and Gotland has this old the sort of city center. The main city of Gotland is called Visby, and it's an old Hanseatic trading post, like a very important city back in the day in the Middle Ages, and it has a intact ring city wall, like a wall that goes all around the city, and it's a UNESCO heritage site because of it. So that was a very cool experience. I've visited the island before, but I never really visited the city or the town and the wall. So it was a really inspiring moment. Like, we could try to do something like like the remnants of an old city wall around the old town in this build as well. We could use like the vanilla castle walls and like do some places where it sort of clips into the buildings, if that makes any sense, because that's stuff we saw in Visby. Very inspired about that, and I don't know if I said aqueducts. Aqueduct would be cool as well. Just guard towers and like these gateways. Like there's a large gateway towers. Toll. I think they're called like tolling. Yeah, city gates, I guess. That's what they would be called in English. Anyway, I have a lot of ideas for that, and also really looking forward to that build. But I don't know when that build will be. Maybe it will be the next one. I haven't recorded the next build yet, so I still have a few other builds. In the poll that I put up, I did list like a few other alternatives. Like there's a military base and an airport up at the plateau, and also I think I listed the main train station, or the sort of as opposed to the TGV, the high-speed train station, the air quotes normal train station for regional trains. So, but as I said, there's also the university. I want to do that. I could do that in relatively soon. Anyway, I think doesn't have to wait for a lot of other things to be completed. Yeah, I'm very excited about this, and I also want to sort of mix it up. So going into the city, or like into the town, and then going to the outskirts, or like into more rural areas, and mixing it up with the builds. Like maybe we'll have an episode with just farms, like trying our best to make vineyards and such. Just so many ideas. I have this long list, long document of ideas to do, and maybe like just a truck rest stop on the highway. That's another weird small little thing, or like creating old Gallic sites, like from like basically way back, like the Asterix and Obelix kind of Gauls. So yeah, there's just so many ideas. I don't remember all because it's a very long document I have, but it feels really good, like getting some of the ideas like checked off. Like the TGV last episode was like such a huge relief to just I did something. I made the list slightly shorter, so I'm excited to just keep on doing that now. Yes, I should also say like the idea of I don't know, the idea of the Visby Hanseatic walled city inspiration anyway, that would also fit very well into the pan-European pivot, if you will, of Millau, where we will basically, that will open up like for us to use any inspiration from anywhere in Europe, basically. If we do it in a consistent and a sustainable way, that is, it's still definitely mainly inspired by Millau and this part of France. But yeah, I should also talk a little bit about the tram routes. The tram routes are currently like kind of, I don't know about the tram route. There's this tram we created that goes to where the train station will be. eventually, and through the industrial area. For one, I'm not sure if a tram route will go as far. Maybe it will end at the industrial area in the future. And I'm not sure it should go up that avenue towards the train station, because it creates this very, very wide separation between the more modern mid-density area. So I've been struggling with the tram lines, like where to place them for the longest time. Like, even when I wasn't building anything in Millau, I was just worrying about where to put the tram lines. So I don't know, maybe the best solution is to keep them as where we are right now, and eventually get around to moving them if I need to move them later. So those are just like a few ideas. Yeah. I definitely want to have, or definitely, I don't want to say definitely, but I have this idea that I want to have 2 tram lines, and I want to connect the TGV station somehow. It would make sense, perfect sense, to connect it with tram. I would also want to connect the university across the river. So, and maybe some of the larger suburbs. So I guess we'll see what happens with that. I've also had like, I'm a person of many second thoughts. I've also had second thoughts on the location of a train station. The TGV station, that is. I do think it's going to stay in place for now, but I might eventually play around with some different locations for it. I think the line is pretty good and set in stone, but the station I might play around with some different areas for that. But that's for the future. It's definitely fine enough for now. I also do realize that I need to credit some people for some great help I got in the TGV episode. So I've written this down. Yes. So basically, I got great help. Jumbo Shrimpa Cycling made a great comment about 4 kilometer radius is good enough for 300 kilometers per hour. 2 kilometer radius is good for 160 to 200 and stuff like that. And that high-speed rail can go up to a 4% grade because trains are very powerful and relatively light. That's a great comment, and it helped me a lot, and also made me realize maybe my TGV radiuses are not super great. The grade is decent, but the radius of a turns, that is, might have to be a little bit bigger in some cases. One of the turns is less than 2 kilometers. It's the one close to the station, coming into the station though, so it's not horrible, but yeah. I also used the rail speed increaser mod to increase the TGV speed through tunnels, and that actually worked. I think it's because the tunnels are only what's it called? There's only like vanilla tunnel segments. You can't get the special high-speed rail tunnel from the bridges and piers high-speed rail tracks. It doesn't give you extra speed, so you need a mod for the tunnels to increase the speed also. And that was a suggestion by Nomis Towns. That's a great suggestion. Thank you so much. I also got a suggestion that I haven't acted on yet, that I really want to try it. It's banking the TGV curves. That's a suggestion by Jeffrey de Koning? Sorry. And that's Jeffrey the King. Oh, I see, like in Game of Thrones. Okay, great username. Yeah, so this suggestion is really cool, like banking the curves. You can do that with Node Controller. It will take a lot of time and a lot of tweaking, so maybe I'll try it eventually. I definitely want to try it anyway, but that would just look sick if the curves are banked and the trains sort of follow that banking. If it works, oof, so great. Yeah. I don't have all that much more to talk about in this build. which is worrying because I have almost double the length of footage. But you know what? I can change the speed and do some stuff. I can just talk about the build also. That's another option. So I have decided to put a small live play at the end. I haven't recorded. I don't know what it's going to be about, but I'll show some of the tricks like in real time that I'm doing here to create this. So it's going to be much more, I guess, what's the word? And educational. It's going to be much more useful for like sort of showcasing the stuff I'm doing here. By the way, if you watched the network multi-tool tutorial video, let me know what you thought about that one. I didn't spend too much time making that either, but I feel like it was a very good introduction to the mod or something like that. I don't know. I enjoy making those videos as well. Let me know if that's like something you also like to see sometimes. I feel like a lot of these old mods still have a lot of there's a lot of stuff you can learn about them, including me. I learned some things in the comments myself from that video, so it's like this sort of back and forth educational discussion is really fruitful still, even though mods are old and the game is old and such. But yeah. So speaking about new and old stuff, Cities Skylines 2 just got a bunch of new, really interesting updates that are making me kind of want to play that game a bit more as well. Even though Cities Skylines 1 is always my happy place, my favorite game probably, still by far. I'm still thinking about it, like there's a lot of cool stuff to do in Cities Skylines 2. I still haven't made a map, for example, so let me know what you think about those ideas. And yeah, I will see you in the live play in just a little bit, like a few more seconds. Hello and welcome back, and let's look at what we built today. So basically, in the time-lapse, I showed most of these buildings getting constructed or built. But I have since completed the build with some nice parks, like here, and parking lots, like here, using techniques that I've showed many times before, and I don't want to get too repetitive about it. But let's have a quick look at some techniques I used for this build specifically. The first thing is going to be the colors, like using colors. I did talk a little bit about how I try to match the colors of the roofs by default, but there is also an element of like you can actually use mods to recolor these. So for example, this building is obviously supposed to be kind of connected to this one and maybe even this one. So I would use the color slider here, which is from one of the recoloring mods. I don't have the name of it right now, but I'm sure you can find it on the workshop. I can slide it to a value that I think fits this one well. I can copy it. I can go over to this guy here and paste it. Oh, it didn't actually work because it didn't copy it properly. Okay. It was 32. That should work. Okay, now it works. So this is something you can do if you want to like match your, like make your build just sort of match the surroundings a bit better. Like this one here doesn't change the color of the roof, it changes the color of the facade instead, which means you can kind of, you don't have to get discouraged by that. You can use it to try to match this facade instead, like make it a little bit redder something like that. Of course this one doesn't really match, but that's fine. So that's one great trick when building the European builds like this, like wall-to-wall buildings. Like this row here would look absolutely horrible if they were all different colors. It looks decent because they are the same color. Just gonna lower it down a little bit so that the door doesn't clip the ground as much. Yeah. There we go. So another thing I've done to these buildings is I have gone in and used Bob quite extensively. Bob or Beautify Our Builds is the mod that lets you basically remove props and such from buildings. So, for example, let's take this building as an example. You can see it has parabolas facing this direction, and then on the other building it's facing the complete and opposite direction. This kind of stuff bugs me a lot. There's there's inconsistency here. I play a lot of Kerbal Space Program, or used to at least, and this has taught me about orbital mechanics. You would align your parabola towards a geostationary satellite to the south. Because this is the northern hemisphere, it would be pointing towards, I mean, I guess if that is the south, all your parabolas would basically pointing at the same point, like somewhere here. Because you would have a satellite out here basically following the rotation of the Earth at a fixed altitude or distance above the Earth, like 37,000 kilometers or something like that. So to have parabolas, you can't have parabolas pointing north. That wouldn't make any sense. Any satellites you would have up in this direction would be traveling around and moving across the sky. The geostationary satellites would be fixed, however. So to get rid of that, I go in and use Bob and find the satellite, and I just remove it from this building. And then I do it for the next type of building, like this one here. You could probably remove them all together, but I don't want to be so drastic about it. These other antennas can stay because they are omnidirectional, I should say, or at least they're comparatively omnidirectional. Yeah, and the same thing goes with solar arrays. I don't like solar arrays that point in all directions at once. I think that's dumb. So here's another one, satellite. I thought I got rid of all these already, but there's always more satellites to find. Yeah, and I do the same with solar panels, and it just makes the roofs look much cleaner in general. It makes it for a huge improvement anyway. Here's another satellite. And remove. There we go. Yes, so that's good. I did talk a little bit about the parking lots. I've done many parking lots like these before. It's basically using that parking lot network from the train station CCP and adding, or like reducing the thickness of it to like 82, stretching it to 82% of its full stretch, and then just putting one of these parking lot buildings in its place and matching it. It's the same technique we've been using like over here, for example. I have also had to use another trick, because you can see in this neighborhood here, it's going crazy with the traffic, and it's traffic to these parking lots and the basketball courts. Now it's just the basketball court, so I don't think it's reset yet, but oh yeah, I never actually saved this apparently. Okay, so the reason why there's so many tourists here is that this basketball court has a high tourist appeal, and maybe it should have, but I don't want it to have this much. Like, there's just too many camper vans trying to get to this basketball court, so I usually just remove these values altogether. This is the mod, I think it's called like Customize It, I believe, that adds this option to change buildings like that in game. Some may call it a cheat. I'm only using it for I'd say for the greater good. Like, see, all these guys are going to a basketball court, and they're not actually parking, we're just going back and forth, like swarming the streets. So hopefully now this will clear up eventually. That's another thing. I did go ahead and create this cute little park here. There's another parking lot with a nice little cul-de-sac. Just sneaking things in like this into in between, like in weird shaped blocks that are hard to put buildings in, I think is gonna do a huge difference. I didn't really talk about it, but I did use this department store as a sort of transition to the more... This would probably be more of a commercial center of a city. I'd imagine there's like a larger shopping center, like maybe we'll do a custom shopping center in this block or this area here later on. So it's a transition to a more commercial center. We have a music club here. Also put one of the hotels, the small hotel, which fits very nicely into this into the cityscape here. A bit weird with the overly pink trees. We might use Bob to remove them or replace them. We can actually do that also. So let's just do that. These are going to be under the tree, flower tree. And let's replace these with maybe the green tree. And the sugar maple is another go-to for me. And I think that's going to work out. Yeah. It works decently, even though it's pretty close to this building, so. Just fits into a little bit more of the style we've got going so far. So, yeah, I've also plopped down a few buildings temporarily, like you see the bus depot, a crematorium, a power plant, the tram depot. This will not be the tram depot eventually, this will be the train station area. There's a hospital. I think the hospital will be around here, but it's temporary for now. And the cathedral. I think we might use this cathedral. It's just a very good and decent asset, I think. But I would also want to make more custom churches, kind of like how we did back in episode 7, I want to say it was, back in Rayon, in the starting village. So more stuff like that. The idea is that this area here will be much more historic, much more old town. Might have a city wall, like an old city wall, kind of like the one in Visby I was talking about. But we'll see. Eventually, it's all gonna sort of pan out in some way. It's not gonna be... I don't want to overdo it too much with it either, but this is definitely going to be the historic city center part. And more commercial stuff, train station, eventually this part here might see more of this, or even some lower density suburbs, lower density, like maybe more of this kind of density, but some row houses maybe. We'll try to get that in here. Over on this side, I've said it I think before, I want to do the university. It's going to be a much more modern development. I want to do lots of green spaces as well eventually, like some proper parks and cemeteries and campsites and all that stuff. But yeah, this is where we are at the moment as of today. Now I'm going to leave you guys for the rest of the day. You can do whatever you want. You're free. I'm gonna prepare the city or the viaduct a little bit for the Bastille Day. The sort of national holiday, Independence Day of France. So maybe there will be another short video this week or next week. Yeah, it's probably gonna be this week. Yeah. But anyway, if you liked this video and want to see the next parts growing up, also the airport, military base, yeah, subscribe, follow, upvote, like, and I will see you guys next time in Millau. Bye.